Welcome to the Retro Network Podcast, the flagship show for the Retro Network Podcast channel. Get ready for the latest pop culture news, interviews, and topical discussions on all that stuff we grew up with and just can't leave in the past. And now, here are your hosts for the Retro Network Podcast, Jason and Mickey.
Yes, you have Jason and Mickey back for another episode of the Retro Network Podcast. How are you doing, Mick?
I'm tired. I stayed up too late last night. I'm not as young as I used to be.
Oh, yeah. I stayed up late, too. Woke up late for the first time in forever. I can't sleep in anymore. It's just, I don't know if it's just me getting old or what, but can't sleep in.
Well, I can't either for a couple of reasons. One, my body just don't let me. But two, even if it could, I just can't. There's too much to do with what little time we have.
Brain starts working, you wake up at 6 or whatever your normal routine is. And I'm like, oh, I got to get up. I got to get moving.
Yeah, we stayed up late watching a couple of movies last night.
Tell me it was Hard Rain.
Yes, the first movie. Well, before we get into Hard Rain, the second movie we watched since it was the 50th anniversary of the moon landing, I rented from Amazon the new Apollo 11 documentary.
Uh-huh.
That, for people listening, is 5 stars across the board.
Oh, cool.
Because it's nothing, if you're not familiar with it, it's nothing but the actual footage. There's no talking head shots. It's all actual footage in order, beautifully remastered. This is the highest definition footage of this you'll ever see.
Oh, wow.
And I recommend it to everybody. But anyway, yes, Hard Rain. Finally watched it. I tried to watch it last weekend. And, I mentioned I'd had it downloaded for a decade.
Yeah.
Tried to watch it last weekend. It wouldn't play. The file is corrupted. And I don't know how long it's been corrupted. So I got on Amazon. I was going to rent it. And on Prime, this title is not available.
What?
Which is weird because I looked at it last week after my file was corrupted and I could have rented it. This week I couldn't. But thankfully, YouTube, you can rent movies on. So we shot it through the Chromecast and watched Hard Rain last night.
So what'd you think?
It was pretty good. I went on Letterboxd and added it to my movie diary. I gave it 3 stars. I didn't realize that it had the cast that it did. I mean, I knew it had some of the people, but Morgan Freeman, Christian Slater, Ed Asner, Betty White, Randy Quaid.
I forgot about Randy Quaid being in that, and he was at his Randy Quaidiest on that one.
Minnie Driver was in it. It was a really good movie. And, my oldest daughter likes disaster movies, and so do I. And I'd call that a disaster movie. Yeah. But she didn't want to watch it with us, neither here nor there. But I think she would enjoy it. But it was a cool concept. You could tell they purposely went overboard on some of the scenes, like racing the jet skis through the hallways of the flooded high school. And things like that. So it was a fun, easy hour and 40-minute watch. People hadn't seen it. They're not going to waste their time if they go out and watch it. It's pretty good.
It was weird. After we talked about it, I went over to Wiki just to see when it was released and everything. That thing bombed big time. I mean, I think it was like an $80 million budget or 70 and made like 20 at the box office. I didn't realize it was that much of a bomb, but
the trailer was really good because I remember when the movie came out wanting to see it, but it's taken me 21 years to get around to it.
I don't know. I've enjoyed it. I'm going to have to go back and watch it now since I hooked up the VCR so I could watch Independence Day this week.
Well, and when you're looking up information on movies like that, you also have to look up what else was out the same weeks because that can explain a lot of bombs.
True.
Like, if not that it was, but what if that was the same week that Armageddon hit theaters or something? Some of these movies just are victim of what they're out with and not on their own merit.
That's very true. Yeah, so I got the VCR hooked up since we got the Resurgence the Blu-ray last week, like we talked about. I had to pop in the first Independence Day just to watch that. Me and the boy watched both of them.
So what did you think of it? You and I had talked about the second one that I had watched, Resurgence. Yeah. But what did you think of it?
Yeah, it was about worth the $5 that I paid for it. I mean, it was obviously set 20 years later, and they've got all the alien technology, but there was too many coincidences in there, and there's this little convenient orb that's here to help us out, and the destruction of the planet, it's going, the mothership like lands on like a third of Earth, and it starts digging to get to the core, but they somehow save it, and the ship, blows up or floats away. But I'm thinking, all right, you just let this like huge crater in the planet, and it's probably going to die just from that.
Yeah, that's
digging to the core, but I don't know.
That was some of my problems with it. Like you said, it was awful convenient. The movie felt very rushed. Here's this orb all of a sudden.
Yeah.
And they made a movie for the sake of making a movie, I think. And not because they had a story to tell, but because they just wanted to capitalize on the name.
Right. And
I had the same thought, too, at the end when everybody's celebrating. I'm like, all of Europe is gone, right? I mean,
right. It was more or less... Data's movie, whatever, the doctor, you know what I mean?
Brett Spinner.
Yeah. It was, he had some pretty good one-liners, but I don't know, even him coming out of the coma and everything after 20 years, I'm like, okay, he's still alive and he's running the show again, I'm like, oh my gosh. I did like Bill Pullman's, crazy president routine too. I mean, I thought that was entertaining.
Yeah, I just that's one I would do different. That character I would have done different. I wouldn't have had him crazy. I would have just had him like, you were president during a different time. Now we've got these guys. You just need to leave it to us. But then he still has to come back and save things like he did.
Yeah, I just got the feeling that it should have been like a sci-fi miniseries or something.
Yes, yeah, like a little 13-episode Netflix series where you could build up this stuff where the technology turns back on and things.
Yeah.
When you and I had talked through text, you asked something like, is it worth $5? I was like, yeah, it might be worth $5, but I don't think I would pay more than that for it.
Well, it lived up to its hype then.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was fun. I'm kind of in the mode now where I'm looking for new stuff to watch with the boy that he may have not have checked out, before. And I'm in the mode now waiting for a new TV series or something to get me hooked in. Still in Stranger Things withdrawal, I guess you'll say. But yeah, we're finding little things here or there. I did end up hosting that little watch party Friday night with UHF and Airheads back to back.
How was the turnout?
It was mainly me.
Oh.
There was a few that came in from time to time, but it wasn't like we had 50 people watching with me. But today is actually the 30th anniversary of UHF. I saw some stuff go out. I saw our buddy Adam made that Twinkie hot dog.
Gosh.
It's like I've always wanted to try it, but I don't think my stomach would handle it. I don't know, but he downed that sucker, man. He even dunked it in the milk.
I know, man. My hat's off to him. I tell you what, I'm glad we have people like him. The world needs them, but I ain't one of them.
Oh my gosh.
Of course I say that, but back in elementary school, we used to have those gross food challenges at the table, and used to do stupid stuff back then.
I used to love Easy Cheese, man, or whatever they call it.
Spray cheese.
Yeah, the stuff in the can. I'd get it all the time, and you make little smiley faces on your Ritz crackers, and I don't know. It wasn't as disgusting as I think it is now, I guess.
Yeah, that whole thing, though, for people who don't know, you split a Twinkie in half, you put a hot dog wiener in it, you cover it with spray cheese, and you eat it. And then you dunk it in milk and eat it. Gosh almighty.
Yikes. All right. Well, it's been a busy week, man, as far as news and stuff goes. Lots of trailers dropping. We have Comic-Con.
Hey, before we go any farther, I've been looking up here what else was out the same week as Hard Rain that would have caused it to have a low total. the most famous movie that came out that same week was Half Baked. So it was not up against stiff competition.
Baked. I haven't watched that in years. Holy cow.
Me either. All right, sorry. Continue on.
All right. Well, it's been a busy week. Just as far as news goes, trailers dropping, Comic-Con, there's a bunch of Marvel stuff they announced yesterday, and I don't know, this past week just kind of buzzed by, and I felt like I just kept sharing stories. So
yeah, in our Slack chat, Jeremy posted that picture of all the Marvel titles coming out, but I've been so busy I've not got to read the news. Are all those movies or TV shows or a combo of both?
It's a mix. They got I think 2 or 3 like feature films. There's an animated TV series, a regular like Hawkeye TV series, and I didn't really look into all of them, but I know the major one was Thor, and Doctor Strange was the other one. Apparently going to be like a horror movie. So
Multiverse of Madness.
Yeah.
Just from that title, I kind of thought it would have been a TV series because he could have been in different realms and different episodes. But
yeah, well, now that What If title is the one that's going to have like that's animated, and several of the characters will be coming back.
Oh, the fact that I was so excited till you just said it was animated, because What If would make an excellent series.
Yeah,
it'd be almost like the Amazing Stories old series. But the Falcon and Winter Soldier, guessing that's got to be a movie, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I knew Loki was coming as a TV series on the new Disney app.
Mm-hmm.
But
so you got Loki and you got Hawkeye, and then that other animated series, and then the movies. And they announced, of course, Natalie Portman's going to be the next Thor. So they kind of passed the hammer to her at Comic-Con.
Well, I think in the comic books that character became Thor, right? Jane Foster?
I believe so. I have not read Thor, so.
I hope so. I sell these female Thor minifigures, and I call them Jane Foster Thor. So I hope I'm not false advertising.
I guess not. All right. Well, we got plenty to talk to. Let's go ahead and get into it. We've got our main discussion this week. We're going to be talking summer vacations. That should be a fun topic. I did a little hotline interview with my buddy Wyatt, reminiscing about one summer trip that we took together, and just kind of overall what we did during our summer vacations. That was a fun little chat. But first, let's go ahead and get into those recurrent events we've been talking about from this past week. All right, so the big story for me, at least, this past week was the release of the Top Gun Maverick trailer. Did you catch that?
I did. I've watched 2 versions of it. I watched the official one they released, and then I seen on Twitter somebody said it was not enough hype because it didn't have Danger Zone in it, so they put Danger Zone.
Oh, I have not watched that one now.
I seen it on Twitter. Well, you can't hear what they're saying in the trailer. All you're hearing is Danger Zone. But I've watched both, and the Danger one's actually better. So even though you can't hear what's going on,
it's Kenny Loggins, man. Just pump it,
And watching that trailer, did they like recreate the volleyball scene and the motorcycle beside the airplane scene, or were they throwing in clips from the original movie into the new trailer?
Well, as far as what I was seeing, and just from what I've read, because every time one of these drops, you get like 12 websites, everything you missed in the Top Gun Maverick trailer,
Yeah.
And there's several shots that they mimic from the original movie, because what I did was immediately go over to YouTube and watch like there's a clip of like the first 10 minutes of the movie, but I wanted to get that intro montage with the theme. And a couple of those shots where he's like shadowed out, and there's that like elevator going up and down between floors, that was pulled out from that opening sequence. And of course the motorcycle and all that. I think they were more or less homaging the original. So I don't know, if I'm guessing maybe all that crap's in there and they're going to try to appeal, back to the original movie. But just what caught my eye was all of the shots in the jets. That one where he lifts off the front of the aircraft carrier there.
Mm-hmm.
I was reading a story actually over on, I think it was Comic Book Resources, that they're using new technology to capture like stuntmen and the cast members in the cockpits at high speed. So they're kind of getting away from the CGI graphics, and they're trying to actually film the jets move. I don't know if they're actually flying or what's going on, but it's some kind of new technology to capture them. And it I don't know. It's
fantastic.
It did. It was very appealing. It just kind of popped out to me watching him lift off the deck, and even just the shots of them going through the canyons and the swale, from the engines coming about. And oh my gosh, it looked fantastic.
That scene in the desert where he's flying low and then all of a sudden he rips the throttle and shoots straight up. That's good stuff right there. I'm looking forward to it. When I first heard it was coming out, I was thinking, I'll probably wait on that to come out. But that looks like, from the trailer, a movie you want to watch in the theater.
Yeah.
Especially one with a good sound system where you'll hear them sonic booms and things when they take off. So.
I felt the exact same way. I was like, maybe I'll see it, or when it comes to video. No, man, I'm in the theater. And I immediately had that reaction. So I put out a Twitter poll, hashtag TRN podcast poll. When do you plan to see the new Top Gun? Do you want to see it opening night, probably in the theater, wait for a digital release, or I'm not planning to watch it all? And half of everybody that voted said, I'm going to see it in the theater. And another 25% was wait for the digital release. Nobody said opening night.
Yeah, well, I hadn't got to vote yet, but you can put me down for in a theater. Probably not opening night, though.
Yeah.
Just because I work Friday nights. So
So everybody's kind of on that same boat, I think, now that the trailer was just appealing. They're going to be seeing it, even if it's just for the footage, way they filmed it and everything. But, yeah, that's coming out June 26th of 2020. So we got to wait about a year for that one to hit theaters. Here's another fun story. Have you ever seen the Oscar Mayer Wienermobile in person?
Oh, I have.
I have too. It's a pretty interesting sight to be driving down the street and to see it like pass you going the other way.
I seen it going down the interstate one time when I was in my Mustang, and I tried to get it to race, but it didn't want to. So.
Well, it parked here one night. We went over to see it and everything. And the story that caught my eye this week is you can actually use this Airbnb app and rent it out for a night and stay overnight in the Wienermobile. It goes live July 24th on the app. It's $136 a night to stay in the Wienermobile.
Well, that's cheaper than I would have thought.
Yeah, and this is in Chicago. So if you're in the Chicago area, this is where it's going to be to start out. But it'll accommodate 2 people, includes a sofa bed, sitting area, outdoor space with the bathroom, and a, quote, hot dog picnic zone. And you'll be able to, they give you like a little gift packet or something with a bunch of different like hot dog themed stuff. You get like a piece of art. You get a roller grill that you get to keep. And a mini fridge stocked with hot dogs and all the fixings you want. So
just got to bring your own Twinkies then, huh?
Apparently, yes. So I saw that story over on Mental Floss this week and was like, that would be fun to do. Just to say, hey, I got to sleep in the Wienermobile.
Yeah, what'd you do on vacation? I slept in the Wiener.
Now the other thing would be, can I rent it out and like take it cross country?
Yes. If you could rent it and use it as an RV for a cross country vacation, now that would be worth a lot of money.
The only thing is, there doesn't seem to be much privacy in the Wienermobile. Like all open windows all around. So even if you're staying in there overnight, I'm like, man, we need some curtains in here or something. Anyway, I thought that was a fun story. Moving along, we're going to get a Mad About You rehash. I had not heard about this, but apparently Spectrum grabbed the rights to Mad About You, the old TV series with Helen Hunt and Paul Reiser. and they're bringing all 164 episodes of that to their on-demand cable system. But according to Deadline, that's coming to Spectrum on August 1st, ahead of the reboot, and then the new series is coming out later this year. And it's Riser and Hunt, and they're like empty nesters 20 years after the original series ended. So did you watch the show back in the day?
No, I didn't. And since I don't have Spectrum, I'm glad they grabbed Mad About You and not My Two Dads with Paul Reiser, because I'm still waiting on somebody like Hulu to grab that one.
My Two Dads. Yeah. Stacey Keenan, is it?
Yep.
Yeah. Speaking of my buddy Wyatt, that was one of his crushes.
Oh.
Yeah. I never watched the series either, as far as Mad About You goes.
I was working. I didn't have time for television.
Yeah, that was. So we're talking 20 years. So what? Late 90s when that was popular, mid-late 90s. So yeah, that was college years for me. So that one missed me. But it's cool they're bringing it back, though. I'd like Paul Reiser in Stranger Things.
Oh, like I've said, whether I watched it or not, liked it or not, I'm glad that all this old stuff keeps coming back, because the more of it that comes back and becomes a hit, the greater the chances are for the rest of our stuff that we did enjoy to come back.
Right. Here's another reboot. They released the first trailer for Jay and Silent Bob's reboot. Did you watch that one?
I have not seen the trailer, but I love the Jay and Silent Bob characters, though.
I never got into them. I remember watching like Mallrats once, and I was like, okay.
Let me preface that. When they had their own movies, Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back and things, it was overkill. But when you got small doses of them in Kevin Smith's other movies, that's when they were at their best. In a 2-hour movie, when you got 10 minutes of Jay and Silent Bob, they stole the show. But on their own, it could be too much.
Gotcha. So. Well, it sounded like they had a bunch of cameos in the trailer. I didn't get a chance to see it. But for those of you who love Jay and Silent Bob, sounds like they're coming back in a new movie. And then here's one that just slapped me out of the blue. They are reviving Nash Bridges with Don Johnson at the USA Network. Can you believe that?
These days I can believe that, because like we was just talking about, everything's getting a second shot. People apparently either writers are on strike or they've ran out of ideas in Hollywood. Well,
I remember that was on, I think, CBS to start, and then they did reruns on USA.
Constantly, in the 90s. Yes.
Yeah. So I have not heard, or they have not released any details if Cheech Marin is coming back, but that would get me. If he's along with it too, then I would probably be in on at least checking out the pilot episode.
Yeah. Well, I wonder how far we are away from Walker, Texas Ranger.
I'm waiting, man.
Revival.
I'm just waiting.
And what was that? Renegade. Is Lorenzo Lamas still alive?
He is.
We need more Renegade in our lives.
Yeah, I was just telling the boy the other day, friends of ours on Facebook, well, they used to live in the neighborhood here, close to us, and moved away. Their boys are into all these martial arts and stuff. They actually met Chuck Norris, and we were looking at pictures on Facebook, and I'm like, oh my gosh, they met Chuck Norris. And then that kind of spawned me, hey, I loved Walker, Texas Ranger back in the day, man. I did not miss an episode. So I was like, maybe we just need to go back and start watching that series and see if it holds up enough to get at least my attention and maybe the oldest's attention.
Yeah.
Because I don't know. I loved it back in the day. Yeah. All those just like, I don't know, vigilante type of TV shows or rogue cops or, those always appeal to me. So that one, they have not released a schedule as far as when it's coming out. So we'll see if that actually gets to a pilot episode to keep going forward.
Well, his last series on CBS, what was it called? Blood and Money. It was like Dallas, but it was set in Minot, North Dakota.
Oh, yeah.
He was doing a good job in it. He himself, and the show was pretty good, but it got, I think, axed after a year. Of course, it was on like Sunday nights at 10 p.m. It's like a death spot, but
yeah.
But just from seeing that's been 2 years ago. Don Johnson was still really good, so Yeah, I look forward to this reboot if it happens because he can still bring the goods, it looks like.
Mm-hmm.
But why are we wasting time with Don Johnson on Nash Bridges? What's going on with Miami Vice reboot? Come on.
Right. Put him in as the lieutenant or something. Let's just reboot that whole series.
Yes.
All right. Well, moving along. This is a fun headline I saw this week. Fox is going to be airing a competition reality series called Lego Masters. Ooh. Now, this one apparently is a big thing over in the UK. It's got 2 seasons already over there, and it was one of their channel's highest rated new shows. This coming from Variety. But it's like a reality competition where they pit all age contestants against one another to design and construct these huge Lego masterpieces. So, I don't know. That would be fun just to, I don't know if they get to create kind of their own thing, if they give them like a theme or something, and here, you got to build this.
It's probably going to be like one of those cooking shows where they're like, here's your theme, and they don't know what pieces they've got until they see them. You know, they give them the pieces, they give them the theme, and they have to make it work. I think that's where they're going with it.
That's probably, the other thing I was thinking was like just a timed contest. Here's your pieces, here's what you got to build, and go for it. But that sounds more, fun, trying to go behind the scenes and create something, and then they have like a big reveal like they do on those cooking shows,
Yeah. I'm waiting on them to launch a series doing the same thing, but with constructs, because I'd be all in on that.
Constructs.
Yeah, I could build everything with constructs.
Nice.
I used to make spinning guitars like ZZ Top had. I'd make a belt out of constructs and the guitar, and I could spin it around. It was awesome. Be out there lip syncing to it.
I'd go for the one. You remember those like blocks that had like the small little pegs? There was like 100 on each side, and they had like the small pegs on the corners too, and you could fit them all together. You could just mash it into a piece. You didn't have to.
Yeah. I don't remember what those were called, but I know. I don't remember either.
I love those things. All right. Well, and then speaking of toys, Toys R Us is returning in 2019. The trick is they're going to start with a couple stores, and it's supposed to be this like new modern type concept. From what I was reading over there on the Nerdist, stores will be highly interactive with new events and activities every day, from seeing toys displayed out of the box to test, or to have like different brand type stations, so you could like have a bunch of Hasbro stuff up there to go through. And then it sounds like they're going to be embracing the app Steam, which I think is the gaming app, right?
I think so.
Or maybe that's Twitch. I don't know. I don't get into either of those. But and then they have an interaction with Jeffrey. They'll have like an open play place that they'll get to interact with Jeffrey. So it sounds kind of interesting. I looked at the picture, the concept picture, and I don't know. We'll see what happens, because my Toys R Us, like I said before, is now a Big Lots.
Well,
and I don't think it's going to be a kind of a national chain until they test the waters and I guess get the funding back to start doing these new stores.
And I really don't see it working out, though, because doing daily events and meet Jeffrey and this, that, all that raises overhead. And in the retail world now, when the trend is to reduce overhead and go more and more online, you have someone going the opposite direction and going offline and raising overhead. I just don't, Toys R Us went out of business for a reason originally. I can't see you putting that genie back in the bottle by raising cost. But that's just me.
Well, I understand too. I mean, it sounds like they're trying to develop some kind of place where it'll just drop the kids off and we'll go over here to Ross or Target or someplace.
Yeah, I don't want to rain on the parade because it sounds awesome as can be, but I don't see it being viable that they're going to roll out 400 stores over the next 10 years with that model either, though, and bring it to all of us locally. And it's a shame we're losing so many classic malls, because Toys R Us or KB Toys as a brand name is perfect for those pop-up kiosk or pop-up stores through the holidays.
Yeah.
That they could probably turn some coin that way, but Now, what are you going to do? Set up on the sidewalk at these strip malls that everybody's building now? No.
That's very true. Well, if you're in Houston, Texas, or Paramus, New Jersey, those are the two places they're going to open up first. So maybe we'll get Jay and Matt over there at the Purple Stuff. They'll probably be going to check out Toys R Us when that opens, since they're in New Jersey.
I'm sure they will, and I look forward to their report.
All right. I got one more for us before we get into the anniversaries. It was announced this week that Rob Liefeld, who is half of the Deadpool creator team, he's doing a Snake Eyes comic called Snake Eyes Dead Game. And according to Comic Book Resources, he's going to be writing and illustrating, and it centers around, obviously, Snake Eyes. And, I would assume it's in that vein of Deadpool. But since Snake Eyes is a mute, you just won't get the mouth. You'll just get the action, of
Snake
what
Eyes,
Deadpool is.
Snake Eyes is the most popular character in G.I. Joe canon. But there's a reason his solo stories never sold well. Because he's mute. Like you said, there's no dialogue. It's hard to advance the story and foreshadow and show inflection when you can't have the dude talk. Of course, now Rob Liefeld was never good at writing dialogue. He was good at drawing action scenes. So, it's a perfect fit for property and creator, but I just don't know how far they can take it.
Yeah. Well, I thought it was an interesting concept anyway, to try to inject a little bit of a modern flavor maybe into G.I. Joe. But yeah, I don't know. I'm anxious to check it out.
Yeah, take a character like Shipwreck that you can write witty dialogue for. That's what you need.
Shipwreck and Snake Eyes do America. But that was in the original miniseries, right? When they teamed up in that band with that chick, and they dressed up in drag, and Let's do that one in a comic book.
Yeah, we need that as a whole Netflix series. Live action.
All right, let's get into some anniversaries this week. On July 23rd is the 35th anniversary of MTV's broadcast of the WWF, the Brawl to End It All. I don't know if you remember this one at all, but this was actually the most watched program in the history of MTV when it came out. So the main event was actually the Women's Championship. The Fabulous Moolah against Wendy Richter.
With Cyndi Lauper in her corner.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah, that's what the draw was.
I got you. Okay, I was trying to get the tie-in there to why was it on MTV? So had Cyndi Lauper in the corner to distract Moolah and get the pin.
Of course, I didn't have cable at the time, so I didn't watch it live, but I have a DVD from some unnamed, because it's illegal to trade DVDs with wrestling content, but so we'll leave him anonymous. But I have this awesome DVD that has that with its original commercials, with MTV's War to Settle the Score, Hulk Hogan versus Roddy Piper, with its original commercials, and that's the one where Mr. T jumped in the ring to set up WrestleMania, and you had Joe Piscopo and Danny DeVito and all these celebrities there. And then it also has the 1985 All-Star Rock and Wrestling Saturday special with Roddy Piper, the one where they preview the next day's cartoons. I have all those on one DVD with all original commercials still intact.
Oh man.
That's a prized possession in my DVD collection. So yes, I've seen it. I have seen, not to go off topic, I have seen the Brawl to End It All.
Okay.
Or to settle it all, whatever they called it.
Yeah, I don't remember specifically watching that. I mean, I watched some wrestling back in the day, but I think I'd be interested more in watching the commercials in between and all the little promos,
Yeah, and that's what makes the whole package good. What was the MTV DJ's name? He had the blonde mullet, younger guy.
Alan Hunter.
Yeah. He used to be on all those specials, and you'd only get that one match and it'd be an hour special, but it would have him and Mean Gene. They'd be showing clips leading up to it, and they'd interview celebrities would come in, and the hype built throughout the whole show. Plus, like you said, you had the promos and the commercials, and I'm not sure if that's on YouTube or not. It was at one time.
Yeah.
but I don't know if it still is. If it is, if people can find it with original commercials and promos, it's a fun hour-long watch.
We need to do a watch party with some old WWF matches. That's what we need to do over there on Facebook.
If they're on Facebook. I'm still playing with that technology. If I could put some stuff on it.
Yeah, I think it's just and it's weird because I'm finding like full movies and everything, and watching UHF Friday night, they had a lot of it like muted out, like where the songs would be. Mm-hmm. That whole Beverly Hillbillies Money for Nothing, that was all muted out. I was like, oh, come on, man. So,
yeah, see, that's the problem with those videos. Yeah. It's a great concept, but I'm trying to figure out some better execution for it.
Yeah. I watched The Flight of the Navigator last night on my Rediscover the 80s Facebook page, and that was full in no muting or anything on that one, so it worked out pretty well. We'll have to check out some WWF matches, though. That would be fun.
Yes.
Okay, also having an anniversary this week on July 25th, going over to music. It's the 30th anniversary of the Beastie Boys' Paul's Boutique album. I've got the anthology from the Beastie Boys, and back in the day, I was more Check Your Head or License to Ill.
Yeah.
Those were more of the albums I listened to, but I didn't really listen to Paul's Boutique back in the day. I didn't really get into those songs until I bought the anthology, which I think was like late 90s.
Yeah, same story here.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's celebrating an anniversary this week. I had to go over to YouTube and play it though once I saw it was up for an anniversary. Movies, kind of a slow week for movie anniversaries this week. I mentioned the 30th for UHF, which is on the 21st. It's the 25th anniversary for The Client on July 20th. That was with Tommy Lee Jones, Susan Sarandon. Remember that one?
It rings a bell, but I must not have left much of an impression on me.
I've seen it a couple times. I think probably both on cable or, something like that back in the day. I don't remember ever watching it in the theater or even renting it. And then one more, the 20th anniversary for Inspector Gadget is on July 23rd.
The Matthew Broderick version?
Yes. Yeah. Yes, the live action Matthew Broderick one. I have seen it a couple times, and that's about where I'll leave that one. I even saw the sequel with French Stewart and was like, made it through,
Well, I've never watched the movie. I was a big fan of the cartoon on Nickelodeon when I was young, but I never watched the movie. When I first got cable, it was a cool cartoon, but just the fact that I've never seen this before. This is not on my local Channel 5, Channel 11. It's on this whole Nickelodeon channel. I got to watch this.
Yeah, that was a big draw to Nickelodeon for sure. I loved his transforming car, and I remember watching Get Smart, at Nick at Night. So I had the voice was familiar to me. I remember as a kid watching the show, Don Adams. And that had some appeal to me watching as well. And then you had the fun Dr. Claw, I'll get you a gadget, and that ridiculous car of his with the cats. I think it was like the headlights were the cat faces or something,
Well, you can't be a evil doctor or mastermind without a pet cat.
This is true. So that was, I definitely, the cartoon is revered a lot more than those live action movies that Disney put out. So, and that's it for our anniversaries this week. So coming up, we've got our topic on summer vacations, and we're going to dive into that, try to reminisce a little bit about those times when school let out and being on the road and doing some fun things. So stay tuned for that. And then we'll also give you our TRN Hotline interview with my buddy Wyatt, talk about our little summer trips and such, and then we'll be back to wrap it all up and tell you what's coming up on the Retro Network. So stick around.
Fun comes from different places, turns a beautiful morning into a wonderful day. Things to see, things to do, places to be, there's lots for you.
Hershey Park happy, Hershey Park glad. So many things to see and do, good times to be had.
So many things to see and do.
Hershey Park.
Your dial tone to the past. It's the TRN Hotline.
Hello, everyone. This is Jason, and we are on the TRN Hotline again. And I've dialed up a familiar voice if you've followed me at all over there on Rediscover the 80s. He is my longtime friend, Wyatt Bloom. How are you, bud?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing fine. It's weird kind of dialing you up because we do talk so much and podcast so much, but I know you're incredibly busy now with, let's see, 3-month-old twins?
Well, that's part of it, yeah. But yeah, we're just keeping busy. Rolling with the punches, as the saying goes.
Right. Well, I thought you'd be the perfect person to dial up on the hotline since we go way back to, what did we determine, 4th grade?
4th grade.
And we're talking about our summer vacations this week in the main topic. And I know we had one little trip together during the summer one year, and just some other stuff that we did kind of during summer break from school. But tell me about, you guys were campers, weren't you? You went camping a lot, like for summer vacation back in the day.
Yeah, that was our, we couldn't afford Disney, and, heck, we couldn't afford the long-distance phone call to Disney. So the next best thing was to just camp it out. And I still remember my dad buying this pop-up camper, and obviously it was back in the 80s. I don't know how old the camper actually was, but it was an old StarCraft pop-up camper. Probably seen it, at least if you remember the 80s, you would have seen one of those guys, because it was white with an orange stripe down it, almost like Face's Corvette, white with, except it was orange instead of a red stripe. But he picked that up simultaneously. He happened to land the old aluminum truck cap that was supposed to be on it, or that had been on it for years. So yeah, we started out camping in that old thing. Truth be told, that's why I'm so attached to my 78. There's so many memories in that truck. It's hard for me to get rid of that truck. Obviously, I have memories, I have pictures, and and so on. But in the end, I mean, I guess I'm clinging on to an item that has my memories. But yeah, we've camped all over the place. We've been to Virginia Beach a few times, King's Dominion. We used to camp out. We had cousins up in Niagara Falls. We'd camp out in their driveway. We would go up to cousins up in Michigan. We would camp out in their driveway. So Parker Dam a few times there in Central PA. Hershey Park several times. Knoebels. Yeah, I think that's about the only places I remember with at least with our beast.
Yeah, we were not campers at all. And
not even tent campers?
No, I mean, I love being out in the woods and playing out there. And I don't remember having a tent as a kid. But we did, I did Boy Scouts for the longest time. And
so you could have made a tent out of like twigs and leaves and stuff. I
did one time, actually. I do have a wilderness survival badge stashed somewhere in all my Boy Scout memorabilia. But yeah, I mean, we went up there a couple times for like a week-long summer camp, during our vacation from school. But just you mentioning Hershey, I had remembered a time that I went with you guys down to Hershey during summer vacation. I don't know if it was just for maybe one overnight, or we were down there for longer than that. But I remember it pretty well because I remember riding down in the back of that 78 pickup with the top on, and we're just like laying down in the truck bed going down the road. I remember that pretty vividly.
Yeah, that's how we traveled in that beast. Back in the day when it was perfectly legal, I mean, we would open up the vent window with the sliding windows on the sides of the capper. My dad had we never had a pass-through sliding rear window, between the cap and the cab truck. So we had the old toy walkie-talkies back in the day. I don't know who made them. The gray with the black screens on them. You found them all over the place. But,
yeah.
But we had those guys, and that was our way to say, "Dad, pull over, please." But yeah, we pack up like puzzle books, game books. If we had any type of travel game, which was not too many. I know we listed that in our board and card games podcast there on Memory Jogger. But other than that, we just kind of rode it out quite literally on a mattress and however many hours it was for the drive. No error,
Yeah.
Of course, I guess my dad and mom were not in the lap of luxury either. That old 78 doesn't have air conditioner. It had what we joke and call 3-window AC. So.
That was, I guess, more my ritual going to a amusement park. Hershey was probably the closest. Well, I take that back. Probably what was Bland's Park, what now is Del Grosso Park in Altoona, was the closest amusement park. But yeah, I remember heading down to Hershey with you guys, and just loved going to Hershey. I don't know, just the smell of chocolate, I guess, that once you get there, you feel like you're in, some fantasy land or something. But
right,
going to the little factory tour there and riding all the rides and everything at Hershey. But I remember too, we had talked about this on our other podcast there, Memory Jogger, that we had a fun little tradition during summer vacation from school. We would dial each other up and play along with The Price is Right.
That's that. I think we said that numerous times in our podcast. The Meet the Host, and then we had our phone episode, and then we had
our game shows.
Game shows, yeah. It was back to that. We would, we were bored, I guess, but we loved Price is Right. And we enjoyed talking to each other. So for an hour, for most every day of the summer break, that's what we did. Come on, Bob. Let's see if we can get another item up for bids. Can I spin the wheel? Come on, please.
Right, because obviously during the school year, you didn't get a chance to see it unless you were sick at home, and your parents let you watch TV during your misery. But yeah, we'd dial each other up and literally be on the phone for an hour and play along with The Price is Right, throw out our guesses and play along with the showcase showdown at the end. And that was a fun little, just when I think of summer, like during our high school years, that was part of it too. But do you have any other summer vacation kind of memories?
Well, like I said, we did most of the camping stuff, and it was usually my dad. When they divorced, it was my dad that had vacations. My mom and stepdad, they didn't go too far. They had a little, I call it a farmette, but they had a few animals, and it was hard for them to break away to to go for maybe an overnight. But I don't remember doing an overnight for anything. I do remember this one camping trip, or not a fishing trip early on, and it was kind of comical how it rolled. We went to Sonoma Honing, which is quite a drive, about an hour and a half ish from Clearfield. And if Clearfield is in the boonies, this is Cajun country or something, because it was out in the middle of nowhere, and you're surrounded by hills with this huge, beautiful river or lake. I don't know what it is now. It's so long, but great fishing. And one of the two gags I remember, I had learned in my youth to be able to somehow bark like a dog, and people were dumbfounded that it sounded like a dog. So I'm walking up my stepdad asked me to get something out of the car, and I'm walking back up, and I'm going, and he's looking around looking for this dog that doesn't exist. And I walked up to him and goes, "That's you? That's a dang good like German Shepherd or something." And then the awesome finale that was almost a tragedy. We have this 80s, I think it's an 87 Buick LeSabre, and for some reason my stepdad accidentally put the keys down in the trunk as he's getting something out of the trunk. And then of course you just do the simple thing, the habitual thing is to slam the trunk lid. And he's like, "Oh no, the keys are in there." So we're looking like, yeah, we should be able to just pull the seat back. Most cars have, the rear seat cushion folds back. Not in this car. I'm like, no. And I'm looking all over the place. And of course, there's no way. This thing's a solid container. So he's like, "Oh, I'm going to have to find a phone. We're going to have to call my brother to break in my house, to go get the spare keys, to drive another hour and a half to get us." And I said, "Let me try something." And this little experiment is something I did in Sunday school back when we were both at Clearfield Alliance. And that is, I would sneak out of Sunday school. I'd go sit out in my mom's car, and I would turn the radio or windshield wipers on, and you gently play with the hazard lights. You don't just pop them out or pop them in, however your car worked. You'd slowly tweak it, and it would send a surge or pulse to that item that was that was on. So I'd hear the radio lit, 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 or you hear see the windshield wiper just slowly creep up. So I'm like, let me try this on this car, because he has a electric trunk lid. So I push the button and start playing with the hazard light, and sure enough, pop.
Oh wow!
And he's like,
"Save the day."
Out. And I'm like, "I don't want to tell you because I might get in trouble. I've skipped a lot of Sunday school."
Saved the day on summer vacation.
Yeah, but then he had to do it. He had to go play with it.
That's funny.
Not really the big thing I remember on my mom's side. My dad's, it was really, we just go all over. We would go to Parker Dam was the closest and typically the cheaper of alternatives of anything. Mm-hmm. When we saved enough money, we would go on a drive. Virginia Beach and Knoebels were with my mom. The Niagara Falls and Michigan were also when my mom and dad were still together. It was when they split. I think Parker Dam was the first couple vacations. Then it started getting further. I remember going to Hershey several times.
So you got a couple of vacations each summer then?
It's sometimes. Well, no. It was usually one big vacation for about a week, depending on how much time my dad had. But he started coinciding the Hershey trip with. He started having high school reunions. So he would go for a high school reunion for a few hours, and then we would go to the chocolate factory or to the park, that was very expensive. So I don't remember going to the park, only maybe twice, maybe 3 times. Mm-hmm. But yeah, we'd hung out at the Chocolate World and tool around Hershey or Harrisburg and see other sites. Get to see the miniature Statue of Liberty out in Susquehanna.
Oh, yeah. Yes, I remember driving past there and seeing that. We even talked a little bit about how our end of the year field trip from school was kind of wasn't necessarily a summer vacation, but it kind of kicked off our summer vacation from school, because it was always like that last week before we school let out and we got to take the summer off. And most of those, or at least a good bit, I remember going to Kennywood in Pittsburgh. And then, did you go on the trip to Cedar Point in Ohio?
Did not do the Cedar Point trip. I went to Kennywood. I went to Hershey. There was one summer, I think it was our high school year. One of them, I went 3 times. I went for a field trip. I went for family vacation, and then I went back. My dad I guess the family vacation worked out differently. Then I went back down for his reunion. So it was times in a row. So I got to see a lot of.
I was going to say, was that the summer that we went to see Phil Collins at Hershey Arena there?
Yeah.
That would have been the fourth time.
I think it was the year prior that happened. I don't remember how. I was trying to remember the other day. I remember going, but I don't remember how you got the tickets. I don't know if your mom won them or bought them, how that landed.
I'm pretty sure we bought them. It was because that might have been the year we graduated, 94. Because that was the year I believe he released that Both Sides album. And I love Genesis, Phil Collins.
Oh, yeah.
Mom was the one that drove us down there.
I remember.
Yeah, I remember we had just like lawn seats out in the middle of the arena there, or stadium, I guess you more or less. But yeah, that was a long concert too. I remember it going probably close to 3 hours. They had an intermission, and after the intermission, you brought like the horn section out. And I remember walking out to the car. We left a little bit early before the show was over, just to kind of beat the traffic. And I remember walking to the car, and he was playing "Take Me Home." I was like, "Oh man, this is perfect." And
really,
that's been one of my favorite concerts of all time that I've seen. But I remember, yeah, it was you, me, and my mom. So I don't know if she just wanted to get a ticket or if that was a point where maybe it might have been the year before. I can't remember because I didn't get my car until I think just after I graduated. So anyway, that was a fun little getaway over summer as well that I remember. But
one last thing that I do remember, it wasn't over summer vacation. I think it was actually over fall or something because it was cold. But we decided on a whim to camp out in our front driveway, essentially in the pop-up. And I had borrowed my dad's 78 to haul it, obviously. And we did not plan this because I remember, I'm thinking, because originally we were thinking about just going out in the backwoods or park or dam or something. And we thought, well, let's just camp on the driveway. That way we're close to home or whatever. And I think I brought a little 13-inch TV out so we could play like Nintendo or watch VCR tape.
The one thing I remember about that is we cooked like an entire package of bacon that morning. And that was like our breakfast. It was just like we split an entire package of bacon. That was the first time I ever remember like feeling like I'm cooking something, because up to that, Mom always stocked the fridge with stuff I could throw in the microwave for quick meals and everything. And I'm out here on that little whatever stove that's in the camper there cooking bacon. I'm like, yeah, this is camping. we're out in your driveway.
That's it. But with that, I do remember it was cold. We turned the heater on, which wasn't like all that great of a heater. And then, like I said, we ate bacon, but we forgot like pots and pans and stuff like that. So I had to keep running into the house. Mom, we forgot the pans. So it was terrible when it came to stuff like that. But, it was like an overnight weekend or something we did. It was awesome at the end.
Yeah, that was really, really fun memory. Well, thanks for coming on with me for a few minutes and reminiscing like we love doing. If you want to connect with Wyatt, he's over there on Twitter at InfamousWB, but you can hear us talk a lot more about our childhood memories if you will download the Rediscover the 80s podcast, and specifically our Memory Jogger episodes, where we just kind of come up with a topic and we don't really have too much of an agenda other than we just try to remember everything we can growing up together. And it could be around a specific topic like game shows or something, but we also just have general stuff too, school memories and county fair memories and all kind of stuff like that. So that's a really fun show. One probably I'm most proud of because it's just
just what I love to do. Just sit back. It's almost like we're on the same porch together. We got our cold drink in one hand and we're remembering the good old days, you know.
That's exactly what it feels like now that you put it in that type of context. I think one of the episodes we said, someone said it was great history for our family or for our kids and stuff.
Yeah.
But it is. It's like, the old farts on the porch. Well, I remember back in my day, we did this and that. And so it's actually fun. I enjoy it because I didn't realize how much I loved regaling what we've done and what we did over the years. Growing up as teenagers, those early cars, driving, and so forth.
Yeah, lots of great memories there. So check us out there, and appreciate you coming on again, buddy, and I'll talk to you soon.
I'm sure you will.
And we'll be right back after this.
1975, King's Dominion introduces the Rebel Yell. 1976, the Apple Turnover. 1977, the King Cobra. 1980, the Haunted River. And now, the hairiest ride to date, the Grizzly. More proof that nobody has more fun than King's Dominion.
All right, we are back for our main topic discussion. Hope you enjoyed the TRN Hotline interview, and we're going to talk a little bit about our summer vacations. And man, just the feeling of that last day of school. It's usually like a half a day. You're watching movies. You're just kind of doing whatever, playing board games, wondering why in the world I'm in this school.
Yep.
And then that bell rings, or you get the call over the loudspeaker that your parents are there picking you up, whatever is the case, and you get that just stepping out of the school, that summer vacation feeling, and you're like, oh, it's just like a weight off your shoulders.
Yeah, turning around and flipping the bird and just going on to the car, and your mom beat you half to death for it. Best day of the year.
Such a great time. And then I don't know, I always had that feeling like my mind was wide open. Oh, all the stuff that I'm going to do this summer.
Oh yeah.
And you get these kind of huge plans, and sometimes you'll have a week-long vacation planned already. The parents have set, and something you can kind of look forward to. But I don't know, I always had that feeling of freedom, that last day of school going into summer vacation.
Yeah, our summer plans as kids, where we were always ruined by the parents. Because you're right, we'd make these big plans like, hey, yeah, we're going to hike up to 3 miles up the railroad tracks and camp up on the hill for 2 days, and then we'll come back. And your parents are like, yeah, I don't think so. so we make a lot of plans that never came to fruition back in those days.
Yeah, it was fun too. Like, one of the memories that I was thinking about summer vacation is, all the kids are out of school, so you're able to stay out later. You didn't have to come in for dinner and stay in afterwards, just because there was a school night the next night. You went back out after you got done eating, and you could play games and stuff after dark. I remember in my neighborhood, a lot of the kids would get together and we would play this game called Jailbreak. I don't know if you ever played this or not, but it's kind of like hide and seek, but you had somebody's porch was always the jail, and we would kind of get everybody together in the middle of the street. So not like literally the middle of the street, but like one of the houses that are in the middle of the, going down to the end of the cul-de-sac. So we could go one way or the other, and we would always kind of set our boundaries. All right, you can't go past so-and-so's house. But you'd hide, and then you've got like a couple people that are like the cops or whatever, and you got to find the people. Once you find them, you got to grab them, you got to tag them, and then you take them back to the jail, which was somebody's porch. And then other people could kind of sneak over and try to tag them and get them out of jail, so they can just kind of wander back into the neighborhood and hide again. But it was just kind of this cat and mouse game that we played, and it was always at night. So, and being on a cul-de-sac, didn't have to worry about traffic or anything. Right. And like I had mentioned before, none of us had like privacy fences or anything. So we could go, all the way around somebody's house and hide behind a shed or, whatever, climb a tree. We always had like limitations as, like I said, rules and stuff like that we would do. But that was one thing that I remembered. That's summer vacation right there, when all the kids are out at night and there's shenanigans going on,
Well, I used to watch different television shows and would fantasize about that thing you're doing there, because you lived on a street where there were probably numerous kids and the houses were close. But I grew up out in the country, and there was nothing around us for 100 acres in any direction. So that stuff there just didn't happen. My cousin Tim did live behind us, and he and we would see each other all day. So at night we'd gotten to go our own ways. But the next closest kid to us was probably at least 1.5 miles, 2 miles away. So
wow,
I missed out on all those type experiences that you're talking about there. Well, for the first 10, 12 years. But after that, I ended up living on a road where there were a couple kids, but they were all 3 and 4 years younger. And, it's not the same.
Yeah.
But we used to trade baseball cards all day long in the summer. And I do mean all day long, like every day, which was weird because you're just swapping the same cards back and forth day after day after day. So we would get creative with it. And one day a week, we'd have a card auction. And everybody would have to put like 5 cards up for auction. And you'd take turns. And everybody had to make a bid. And so you'd all turn around in secret. You're flipping through your book. And whoever put the card up for auction had to take one of the bids. So if you didn't want it, you was just picking like a single common card and saying, yeah, there's my bid. And you weren't going to get it. And you would gauge the price, I guess you would say, of cards all week long. Because like I remember the 87 Topps Mark McGwire rookie card. I wanted that card for some reason. And one of these guys had it. And all week long, I'm like willing to give up the bank. So he's gauging it, like, oh, get this. It's going to take more than that. It's going to take more than that. And I never did get that card. But,
oh, man.
So, and we thought we were living in high cotton. We'd have the Beckett magazine. So we never had any really expensive cards.
Mm-hmm.
So we thought we were in high cotton, like, oh man, this card's worth 50 cents. Like, oh, yeah. Okay. And then this is hard to believe. This is really hard to believe. But down at the end of this road, there was this old chicken barn thing. And you know how bad chicken barns stink.
Oh, yeah.
The guy who owned it took one of the stalls at the end and opened a baseball card store in it. And I ain't making this up, So not only did it smell bad, he just had this big collection of baseball cards he was going to try to sell. We lived in the middle of nowhere. There's no traffic. There's no stores around.
Right.
You got to drive 5 miles to see a gas station. What was this dude thinking? So we'd go down there. We'd ride our bikes. It was like 1.5 mile ride. And we'd ride down there, and the guy was just trying to gyp us like crazy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I've got that Mark McGwire rookie card you're looking for. It'd be $20. What? It's worth $3.
Yeah. See, when I started collecting, it was later, and it was around the 89, 90 era. So it was the Ken Griffey Upper Deck that we were always trying to get. And then I tried to collect the whole 1990 Donruss set, which is pretty much worthless now. But there's like no good rookies in there. And you've got this cool like Willie Stargell puzzle that we, tried to get all the pieces for to put that together. But I remember doing the same thing, but with Matchbox cars. Ooh. So we would all there was me, and I had a neighborhood friend named Tim and another one named Scott, and we would all get together. We had all of our Matchbox cars, like our outside ones, in little, boxes or whatever. And we'd dump them all together, and then we'd pick out like 5. We'd do like round robin or 10 or whatever. And then the rest would be like the used car lot. So you could go trade in a car later. But we would do that. And it was funny because I got these like old clunkers from the neighborhood lady next door that used to babysit me. She gave me some that, I guess were her sons. And they were all beat up, rusted, from, I don't know, 10 or 15 years before when we were kids. And those were the ones that we would go for first. We'd like fight over these old clunkers. I'll never forget that. But yeah, we were all about, dumping all the Matchbox cars together and sitting for hours out in the driveway and playing. during the summer months. But let's go change gears a little bit and let's go to like actual trips and stuff that we took, like summer vacations. We didn't take too many. We would go to amusement parks, things like that, but we never did much camping or anything like that, like planned trips for like a whole entire week. Did y'all do any of that?
Most days of my summer was a trip because my dad worked for himself and he made his own deliveries. He bought and sold conveyor belt to coal mines. So he would sell a bunch of belt and we'd load it up and he may be gone 2 days, 3, 4, 5, 1. Mm-hmm. It didn't matter. If I wanted to go, he said, get in the truck. So I learned to love to travel when I was really, really young. And, he'd tell me the night before, hey, I've got to go to Grundy tomorrow. I'll be back tomorrow night. You want to go? Yes. Because I knew that if I not intentionally pestered him enough on the trip, but if I was just an aggravating kid, just normal aggravating kid, to shut me up, he would buy me a wrestling magazine at a gas station that we stopped at. And I would sit over on the other side of the truck on the bench seat and read the thing from cover to cover and be quiet for 6 hours. So I always wanted to go on the trip so I'd get a wrestling magazine. That, and I like to eat out. And I knew we'd be eating out all the time. But we would actually take actual vacations, which were generally related to his work, though. If he had something he had to go look at somewhere and something was close to it that would be of interest to the family, we'd all load up and go. Like, he used to have to make a dedicated trip every year down to South Carolina. So we would take an extra 3 days, go with him on that, and we'd go to Myrtle Beach for a couple of days, or he'd have to go here and there. We're close enough to Pigeon Forge, Gatlinburg, Tennessee, big resort towns with Dollywood and all that, that we would make that trip every year. And most years we would actually pull a camper and stay at a campground. So we combined trips. You had a camping trip and you still had Dollywood and go-karts and this and that. We took a big trip, a 2-weeker, out to Colorado, Utah. Got to see a lot on that trip. We went everywhere: Niagara Falls, Grand Canyon, Nova Scotia, just all over the country when I was a kid. I'll let you tell a few tales, and then I'll tell you about our main summer tradition vacation, though.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't see the ocean until I was in college. So we're in the middle of Central PA. I remember taking a trip to like Lake Erie. It's like the biggest body of water I'd ever seen until I was in college. But we would go, like little overnights here and there during the summer. I remember this one's pretty vivid. I remember going to Hershey Park, and we went down, we got a motel room, and I guess my dad was frugal or whatever, cheap, you want to call it. I remember like sneaking down in the back seat because they only wanted to pay for like a double room or something, or a double bed. So we're at the motel, right? And I'm like laying down, and I like sneak into the room, and it was I think I just slept on the couch or something. And the next day I remember waking up and I was entranced with like the Jackson 5 cartoon. And I did not want to get up and go to Hershey Park because I was watching the Jackson 5.
That's back in the days when the hotel still charged per body in the room.
Yeah.
And it was a higher price for adults than kids.
So they would, they put me down. Hey, son, get down in the back seat so we don't have to pay for you.
Well, we went, and this was on the trip to Nova Scotia up through Canada one time. We were coming back and stopped at a hotel. And I walked in with my dad when he's checking prices. And he's like, yeah, there's 4 of us, 2 adults, 2 kids. And she could see my brother out in the car. And she said, how old is he out there? And my dad said, he's 16. And I looked up and said, Daddy, Michael's 18. So he had to pay for a third adult.
Oh, no.
I got that look from him like Ralphie did from his dad on the side of the road changing the lug nuts in A Christmas Story.
You didn't get a wrestling magazine that next day, did you?
Yeah. No, probably not.
We did one road trip. This would have been in high school after my parents had divorced, and Dad, for some reason, he just, let's go to Niagara Falls. Okay. So we just took a road trip, and we stopped at a couple little museums and stuff along the way. Got to see Niagara Falls. I think I was sophomore or junior in high school. And that was just a fun little trip because we had like no agenda. And we'd stop here and play, miniature golf, or we'd stop over here and go through a railroad museum or something, and went to the Pennsylvania Grand Canyon, which was a pretty cool place, like a state park, and they have they call it the Grand Canyon, but it's not as grand as the real one, But it was fun just getting out there, and probably like you experienced with your dad on those trips, and the little nuances of these little stores here and there was almost better than once you finally get there and see the whatever you're going for,
Right. And I tell people that all the time. It was the trip, not the destination. It was the trip that was all the fun for me, because I loved staying in hotels and motels. And one of those reasons was because they had cable TV that we didn't have at home. And that's where I discovered stuff like the Brady Bunch for the first time, or would see AWA wrestling on ESPN that I didn't get at home. And I just loved the hotels, Of course, it also meant Dad was ordering Domino's delivery every night at a hotel. So
the only other kind of like week-long little vacation or trip I would make was just to Boy Scout camp. And we did that a couple years in a row. I talked a little bit about that in that one article about bat dance that I put up on the site last month, where I snuck a boombox in the Boy Scout camp with my bat dance single, and that thing was confiscated like the first day. I was so bummed. But we had fun little experiences, at camp. And just the fact that you're out there, and at Boy Scout camp, you're trying to earn all your badges. So there's one night you spend in the woods and you make your own little lean-to shelter. So you get your wilderness survival badge, and then you go over to the leather shop and you go here and there earning all your little badges, and just that kind of fun stuff with all your buddies. So that was like almost like a vacation from your parents too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You get out there, you're on your own with your friends and just kind of doing your own thing. And I always hated that last day of camp, because you're saying goodbye to some friends, maybe some new friends, and then you're back to having to deal with your parents again.
Back to real life. And like we like to say on this show, real life sucks.
Exactly. So what was your major trip every year?
Well, I'm about to get just a little long-winded here, but our main trip was always a camping trip, so to say. My dad was president of the Iron Mountain Riding Club, and it was a horse riding club, and they'd have shooting matches and this and that. But every year, starting on the 4th of July, or whatever the Saturday was there around the 4th of July, they would do wagon train for 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And all these old guys in the riding club, they had all built old wagons, covered wagons, and they had horse teams. And you would start out at the clubhouse, but then you would ride in wagons all day or ride horses to the next stop. And some stops you'd stay one night, some stops you'd stay 2 nights. And you just traveled around the area, setting up camp like they would do on a wagon train, moving out west. But they kept it entertaining because you had half the people driving wagons and people riding in them. You had the other half of the people would like pull their camper and get it set up to the next spot, and then they'd go get somebody else's camper who was driving a wagon and go get it set up, and they'd switch the next day. And,
wow.
So there was all these kids, and people in this riding club were from several counties. So you had kids you've seen at your school. You had kids that you knew existed at other school from playing sports against them. And then you had all these kids you'd never seen before in your life. And you're staying on these big farms, and there would be 60 kids your age running across that farm all afternoon long and at night. But they would keep it entertaining because they'd do cake walks at night. Uh-huh. We'd have watermelon races. You know what a watermelon race is?
Where you're rolling the melon?
No.
Okay.
No. They take you by age group. Like, let's get all 6 and 7 year olds up here. And they'll put a watermelon like 30 yards away. And they're like, go. And the first one to get there gets it.
Oh, okay. I got you.
And so, it's fun for kids because it's watermelon, right? But the real fun came with the older age groups. You'd get up, well, let's get all the 16 to 25 year olds that want to do this. And they would converge on that watermelon at the same time.
Explode. Yeah.
It would explode.
A Gallagher moment on the trail.
And they'd bring in the flatbed trailer, and they'd have some local dance band come in and play at night.
Oh,
a couple of times during the trip. And so it was a long 2 weeks. And I always look forward to, my mom would have stuff to do. Like she'd have to go get more groceries. So we'd leave Wagon Train, me and her, and we'd go to the closest town. And she'd be buying some grocery stuff. And I knew that like I had already worn through all the play value of whatever I had taken with me. And I was going to be getting something new because I was getting on their nerves. That's when I'd get new G.I. Joe men and things like that. But you was grilling out all the time and eating good. And you just wander over to other people's campsites like, that smells good. You want some? Heck yes, I do. So you were eating constantly. And we done that for several years, every year. It was a big event. So that was one of our big vacations. And that, I'm going to go into a lot more detail of all that this week on the site. That's the piece I'm putting together for the for our theme week. 2 weeks. Well, 10 days, 2 weeks. You know, some people would come a day early. Some people would stay a day later because you'd end up back at the clubhouse for the last night where they'd have the big horse show. And, oh, I forgot, too. It always kicked off the first day or two of the event was at the clubhouse. One of the things they done to raise money for it was this big barbecue chicken dinner. And you've seen, you know, everybody would come buy these barbecue chicken dinners from all around. You've seen those pull behind grills that people pull behind their trucks. Imagine having about 8 of those, every one of them full of barbecue chicken quarters and stuff. That's how many of these things they sold to people.
Nice.
So, and that paid for the bands and the watermelons and the cakes and all that for the whole 2 week Wagon Train. So
I remember them having a big chicken dinner at the county fair, and they had several of those, and it was always next to the stables and the pens and stuff. I don't know why they put it over there, but there was and they're still there as far as I know. You had the cow barn, and then you had the pigs and sheep, and then the chickens, and then you had your chicken cookout.
Well, you know,
I know they're just like wheeling chickens from the back end of the pen up there to butcher up and eat, but I don't know.
I didn't put this in the article I'm writing about Wagon Train because I was too young to experience it, but you've seen the movies like The Great Outdoors where the boy meets the girl in town and has a little summer romance. Wagon Train was full of that because you had all these teen boys and girls meeting each other for the first time. There was probably 100 boys and girls combined there, and you had all these 2 week summer romances, and you'd see them sneaking off into the woods at night on the edge of the farm. So, I mean, it wasn't exactly Dirty Dancing type romance, but it was something,
Right.
I wish I could have got a little older and experienced that part of it myself.
Yeah.
Oh, one more game they used to play. Well, they only played it once, and I have pictures of it, and I think, yes, I did put the pictures in the article. They got this bright idea that let's have this game where we take our horses and we tie a balloon to each side of the saddle, and we give everybody switches to try to pop the other balloons. Okay, you can see where this is about to go bad in a real hurry here, right? So it was kind of like dodgeball, but you got switches and balloons, and last horse standing with the balloons wins. They started whipping each other, and they're not wearing shirts. They're flailing away with these switches. And if they're not smacking somebody across the bare flesh with it and causing them to scream like a girl, then they're smacking the horse with it instead of the balloon, causing it to buck and rear up.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, that was a one-time event right there. They realized, we can't do that again.
Wow. That's some that's some craziness right there.
Brother, I'm from the country. I've told you. What's that Jeff Foxworthy album? Games Rednecks Play?
Yes.
There you go. That's
there
one.
You go.
That and Donkey Baseball.
Now, after we talked about that, I remember there being donkey basketball in our hometown.
Yeah, we had that too.
Yeah.
We had all kinds of donkey games.
It wasn't baseball. It was basketball.
Yeah.
Wow.
They tried donkey polo, but all the donkeys drowned. So.
Ba-dum-bum. Yeah. Oh man. So did you dress up during these little wagon trains, or was it just? I mean, did you try to get back into that era, or?
Well, you'll see in the pictures. People who were on it didn't have to get back in that era because they never left it. This was a cowboy hat wearing, flannel shirt wearing, Wrangler jeans, cowboy boot wearing crowd all the time.
Gotcha.
They didn't dress up for Wagon Train. And the older folks were in their bibbed overalls and flannel shirts and big muck boots. And yeah. Now, us kids, we were running around in pastel shorts and T-shirts and things and getting these funny looks from everybody else. But they did take one day of the trip and do an old-timey day where they'd give out awards for the most old-timey or whatever. And it was always, the winners were always people who were just naturally old-timey anyway. They weren't even in the competition, but they got the trophies, if you know what I mean.
They're like, I just wore this shirt. This was out of my closet. What are you talking about?
Yeah, the little old lady with the bonnet on that's spitting tobacco. That's how she is all the time. But she won the award for being the most old-timey.
The Marlboro Man and his family.
Yes.
Extended family. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Fun stuff, man.
It was a lot of fun. It was a unique thing to do for vacation, but it was a lot of fun, I got to say.
It sounds like a fun trip. I would have lasted like about 3 days, and I've been like, I'm done. Take me home, Mom.
Oh, kids today would never make it because back then you had no TV or anything, especially now with no Wi-Fi. God almighty. Yeah.
Heaven forbid the Wi-Fi goes out. You're screwed.
Yeah, and people were bringing their Walkmans and stuff, and they would be trading cassettes after 2 days with other people and getting something fresh to listen to.
Bring the extra batteries, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh. Well, we're going to leave it at that. We'll look out for that article, Mick, and we've got some other people, I think, chiming in this week on their summer vacations as well. But we'll touch on that as we wrap up the podcast right after this.
This summer, when you think vacation, think National Lampoon's Vacation. See the real America.
Hey, underpants. Hey, yellow.
It's friendly.
I'm okay. I'm okay.
Don't you want to look at the Grand Canyon?
It's educational.
It's great.
And most of all, it's fun.
The dog went on the picnic basket.
Let Chevy Chase, Beverly D'Angelo, Imogene Coca, Randy Quaid, John Candy, and Christy Brinkley.
Well, are you gonna go for it?
This is crazy. This is crazy. This is crazy.
Take you for a ride. This summer, when you think vacation, think National Lampoon's Vacation.
Better check under the hood.
All right, we are back to wrap things up and talk a little bit about what you missed and what's coming up on the Retro Network. What you got, Mick?
Well, let's see what people's missed last week, which is the same thing we talked about coming up on last week's episode. Eric had another music video spotlight with Huey Lewis and the News this time, which those music video spotlights have been a lot of fun. He's only done 2 so far, but gosh, I like those things.
I do too.
You sit down on YouTube and you're going to watch some music videos, and there's so many that don't come to mind, you just forget about, and then you check out these spotlights he's doing. You're like, oh, I forgot all about that video.
Yeah.
Kevin done his look back at wrestling's Black Saturday, the 35th anniversary, which was a fun piece. That's for wrestling fans, for old school wrestling fans anyway. He also done his Blair Witch Project 20th anniversary. What else did we have? Stuff you may not know about 25 of your favorite 80s cartoons.
I learned some stuff there.
Yeah, well, and even though I put it together, you taught me something. Mobile Armored Strike Command.
Strike Command, yes.
I've got to go in and adjust that. That way you'll look like a fool in your comment for
putting it after I'll have to delete my comment.
But yeah, there's a lot more facts like that out there, but a lot of that stuff I didn't know either until I was just, hey, let's take this from 10 to 20 and let's go on to 25.
Yeah.
So I was having to look up some more stuff, but all kinds of good stuff about your old 80s cartoons in there. And we started featuring some new videos, not actually hosted on the Retro Network channel on YouTube, but on his own channel, Tony from Old Nerd Reviews. He's a lot of fun. He does a whole lot of food reviews, which we're not going to highlight on the on the site, but he does all kinds of old toy reviews, new toy reviews. And the first video of his I put up, he was going through this unboxing of the Office Space Funko Pops that came out not too long ago. So you can look forward to, you'll see that under our videos headings going forward. We're going to feature some of Tony's work because he's a lot of fun. He's just an old nerd like we are.
I saw those Pops at Target just about a week ago. Did not realize they had done those for the Office Space. And the only one they're missing Michael Bolton and Samir. They don't have Samir either. They need to get those two in there.
And another note about Tony at Old Nerd Reviews, he will be unboxing and reviewing stuff you don't see most people reviewing because he's in the loop with these toy companies. They send him stuff to review on his channel. So he gets a lot of exclusive things that you and I will never see the light of day of.
Gotcha.
So that'll be a lot of fun. Coming up this week, it's a little bit of a theme week with our summer vacations like we've been talking about. So there's several people doing different things. I'm not really sure on all the details on them, but I know I'm putting up this piece going into a lot more detail about Wagon Train. And, you know, I got to make a confession. I completely 100% forgot all about doing Up All Night Friday night and Saturday night on the site. It hit me last night about 5 minutes after 11. I'm like, oh, crap. I didn't. But I'm going to make up for that this week. We're going to have some vacation-themed movies and shows Friday and Saturday night as part of the vacation week on the site. So keep your eye peeled for that.
I was looking to see what you're going to put up there to try to find maybe on that watch party. And I was like, wait, where is it at? You didn't do one this week.
People, that's my bad. That's just a 100% brain fart on me. I don't know what happened with that. And I'm sure there'll be plenty of other stuff hitting the site besides vacation themed stuff. Oh, as a matter of fact, I know there is. Brandon's back with another retro rerun review, this time on the show called Me and the Boys. This is a new one on me.
Yep, don't know that one.
Well, it was a Steve Harvey show when he was a lot younger, and it's tied into in a semi spinoff from Full House from when it was on the air. So people who's never heard of it, you need to check this out. I'm going to have to go try to track down some footage of it myself just to see what it was like, because it sounds like it would have been up my alley. So keep your eye peeled for that this week, too. Plus, who knows what else we may have.
Well, we definitely put out some podcasts last week.
Yes.
We got them 4 days in a row. You got our normal podcast on Tuesday. We did the Situation Jukebox Monday, our second episode on that. Wednesday, we did the Stranger Things review, the roundtable review with me and Stacy and Eric. And then Thursday, we had Sequel Quest with the Ferris Bueller episode. So, man, we hit you with some podcasts this past week. If you haven't checked them out, go ahead and do so. And then coming up this week, we're going to have the Sequel Quest Rewind on the Gremlins 3. And you'll have our show. That's probably going to be all you're going to get this coming week. We do have some plans. Sequel Quest sent me their little list of what's coming up in August. I'm not going to spoil it all, but coming up the first couple weeks there, we're going to have some Fast and the Furious talk.
Yeah, I saw that list on our Slack chat too. That, man, there's some good listening coming everybody's way.
Yeah. And we got a fun little giveaway too that we'll be hashing out with their release of they do a rewind with the Fast and Furious, and then they're also going to review the new Hobbs and Shaw movie. Mm-hmm. So once that starts hitting, be looking for a very cool giveaway to some lucky person out there.
Our best giveaway in our Young Site's history thus far.
I would say so. Yes.
Yes.
So that's coming up, and man, we just appreciate everybody listening to us, and be over there on the website and checking out all the content there. We've been putting up some new products too, and curated content, and of course the news and the recurrent events feed. There was just a lot going on this week, and I just felt like I just kept pushing stuff over there, because you get all the cool toys and exclusive and stuff from Comic-Con that sometimes pop up that you can purchase. Added a few of those. That one Funko Pop with Jaws eating Quint.
And, you know,
that was fun.
Speaking of podcasts, I've not listened to you all do the Stranger Things recap podcast yet because I'm still watching it. But I was listening to another podcast, and they were having this discussion about the modern state of streaming and things, and how it really affects how we consume other media. And the example they were given was like Stranger Things 3. So you guys want to do a review of it. You have to just blister through this stuff these days and binge it so you can get a review out, because it seems like TV shows, they'll come out on television and they're on 13 weeks, 26 weeks, whatever. It's a nice steady stream of content about that show. Now these things, where every episode drops at once, it's like the cycle's done in 5 or 6 days, it seems like. You know what I mean?
It is. Well, and I swear to God, I have seen at least 50 articles on all the things you missed in Stranger Things 3, all the little callbacks. It blistered my RSS feed. And I have not seen one site, we should probably did this. I've not seen one site go through and review episode to episode.
Right.
It's all been like one huge review, which is what we did. And maybe we should change that going forward, just because of the viewing habits. And if you do, even if it's just an article review, you'll give people a chance that are actually taking their time to watch it, a chance to interact with stuff and not have to avoid the internet completely because they don't want it spoiled.
Right. And we're entering a whole new world now. We got to figure this out as we go, it seems like, because the old models of how you review things and when is changing rapidly these days.
Yeah, we got to rethink that, because there's got to be a better way to accommodate people to pace themselves and to be able to at least consume some of it and not worry about spoilers when on the TV is released like this.
On the flip side, you got people who will binge it in a day or two, and they're listening to podcasts, and you're reviewing one episode, and they're like, no, I want to talk about the whole thing. I mean, I can't wait till they get to episode 9. That'll be 9 weeks from now. So we're going to make some happy, make some mad, but and I'm just not saying we're going to be reviewing a whole lot of stuff, but it's just all these sites who have built themselves on reviewing things, they're going to have to start rethinking their whole model, the way television is changing right now, folks. Whether you can see it or not, there's a big change taking place right now.
Well, I was just going to say, it would be a whole lot different if Netflix only released like half of the season or 3 episodes at a time or something, and build that anticipation for the final episode. And there's some major things going on in the final episode of Stranger Things 3 that would just blow up the internet like Game of Thrones did, and that was kind of in a negative way. I haven't watched Game of Thrones at all, but it is different when you're still getting some shows week to week, and then you get Stranger Things, and it's just one big, and everybody's got to either avoid it altogether or you got to rush through it. So I don't know. We got to find a happy medium.
Yeah, and it's going to be harder to find that medium going forward because, we got 2 major streaming service launches coming here at the end of summer and later this fall, and I had a little more news on that. I should have brought this up in the news segment, but we were talking about the Warner Brothers app. I think the official title of it now, they're just going with HBO Max, because it is going to be HBO, Cinemax, and the Warner Brothers library together. And competing with that, the Disney app launches this fall, which is going to be where all the Marvel stuff goes going forward. Avengers Endgame is going to debut on their streaming service. So right now, the model it's been leaked. It's not 100% official, but it's been leaked. The model they're going with, since they own Hulu, they are going to take everything PG rated and less will be on your Disney app. Everything PG-13 and up will be on Hulu when they make all these transitions. And since they just bought Fox and FX, the FX streaming app is pretty popular. It's all going to be incorporated into Hulu.
Interesting.
And the Disney standalone, I think it's going to be $5.99 or $6.99. But they are making a package deal where you'll get the Disney streaming service, Hulu streaming service, and ESPN Plus all together bundled for $13.99.
Wow.
So look out Netflix.
Yeah, man. That's some hardball right there.
Right. And with everything that Warner is planning on pulling, and HBO and Max and Hulu, Disney and all their properties pulling from Netflix, close to 45% of Netflix's current content goes away this fall.
That's insane.
And it's going to have to be replaced with something. So, Netflix had their first regression in their history this quarter.
Right.
They actually lost subscribers, and I got a feeling that may get a lot worse before it starts getting better for Netflix, unfortunately.
Yeah. They're going to have to back off on their pricing, and they're going to be cutting shows. And
I feel bad for Netflix because they showed the world the way, but now everybody else is going to, take the knowledge that Netflix gave them, and it's going to get ugly, I'm afraid. But as a consumer, it's a two-sided coin. It's a great time to be a consumer and have all these options. The flip side now is all those options, every one of them cost a pretty penny. But I can see a world where our local cable is like $65, $70 a month, which we don't subscribe to. I could see myself dropping Netflix and paying the $16 for Warner and the $14 for the Hulu Disney combo. $30 a month, that would be more than I could ever watch.
Yeah.
So
that's interesting, man. Yeah, with Netflix. Just thinking about that, I'm like, they're going to have to stretch Stranger Things into 5 seasons at least. They're going to have to do 2 more.
Do something.
Just to take a popular show that they own and has a big draw to extend and give them more content if all that other stuff is going away. I mean, Netflix has a lot of shows. You don't realize how much of the original shows or, their branded content is on there. There is a lot. Mm-hmm. But there's not many that has the draw like Stranger Things. So
and we're looking at it from a domestic standpoint. Internationally, Netflix, Riverdale is considered a Netflix series in other countries. Mm-hmm. It's a Netflix branded show. All that leaves Netflix when the Warner Brothers app comes along. All that's going to be there. All the DC Unlimited stuff's going to be there.
Interesting.
A lot of the shows that are Netflix branded here in this country are like network shows in other countries. People don't realize that. It's not like Netflix is making all their branded shows. They're taking popular shows made in other countries and like Peaky Blinders and popular shows like that and branded them for here in the USA. Yeah, they're going to have to ramp up. And maybe they've seen this coming. Maybe that's why they've doubled and tripled down on original content in the last few years.
Could be. They're going to have to stop canceling stuff.
Hate to go off on that long tangent here on this part of the show, but we'd like to be pop culture past and present. So trying to keep everybody up to date on where they're going to find their favorite shows here before too much longer.
Oh, no. Cool. I appreciate you putting that in there because I haven't been following it as closely as you have. And that's relevant to me to get all of my old shows. They've already moved a lot out to all these other different apps. If I want to watch, Knight Rider or whatever, I'm going to the NBC app, and Magnum PI, I think he's finally on Amazon now, but he was on CBS, their app only for a long time. So it's going to affect trying to get all those old retro shows too. And if you've got a couple retro-minded people like ourselves that like to go back and watch old cartoons and television shows from the 70s, 80s, 90s, whatever,
well, you're
going to have to find it. Yeah.
You add in the fact that Apple's launched their streaming service, and Amazon has announced that they are going to greatly increase their Prime Video offerings, including a crap ton of original programming. And if anybody's got the money to put into it, it's Jeff Bezos.
Yes.
So the war is on. Like I said, we're living in a new time. It's hard to see because we're inside it right now. But when you look at the business side of things like this, like I do a lot, you are in the beginning stages of the next major multimedia war, and a lot of people don't even realize it. There is a premium price to be paid now for all these old shows that are throwaways. You would think, like we talked earlier about My Two Dads, that's not a commodity, or it hasn't been. But now with this content grab it's on, shows like that rocket in value, and you will be seeing a lot more of these shows that you've not seen in years hitting streaming services over the next 6 to 12 months just so they have more content. Whether it's good or bad, right now, content is king.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, we'll leave it at that. And we'll just keep an eye on that and what new shows are coming and what how many more reboots are they going to be doing too? Just whatever they can capitalize on to get content out there and draw people in. Should be interesting. But if you want to chime in about that, you know where to find us. TRN Social on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Mickey's at Yesterdayville. I'm at RD80s on Twitter. You can hit us up there for our personal accounts. Would love to hear your thoughts on the whole streaming battle and even some summer vacation memories this week if you've got them. But man, it's been fun again, Mickey.
Yeah, it is really fun every week to just take a 2-hour conversation with another like-minded individual, because I don't see many people in my everyday life. Real life sucks. That needs to be our new slogan, I guess.
Real life sucks.
So to be able to sit down for just a little while and just talk old stuff is just a lot of fun every week.
Yeah.
It really
and
is.
This is, I call it recurrent events. This is our current events, talking about the old stuff mixed in with the modern culture and new things happening. So you're not going to get politics, and I hate politics, just pisses me off. And seeing some of the news stories that happen, you just, why are we doing some of the stuff that we do in this world nowadays? So we're taking what we like to remember and reminisce about, that nostalgia, and translating that into, the modern day. And it comes out really good, I think. And, some people may criticize, well, you don't live in reality. You're living too much in the past, just focusing on that stuff and not on what's actually going on. And I'm getting a little too political myself here now, but I would just say that, we're just trying to have fun, make the most of what we've got, and pull out those nuggets that people aren't talking about and hashing them out a little bit more with that, retro mind in place. So right. Take it for what it's worth. If it's something you enjoy, obviously you're here listening, and we'll keep doing it from week to week. So,
yep.
All right. We will we'll sign off for now. Go out and find us on social media and on theretronetwork.com, and we'll talk to you next week.
Just don't come looking for me here at my house, because I've got no trespassing signs up. Call first.
All right. Take care.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Retro Network Podcast channel. Make sure you listen to all of the great podcasts we have to offer right here in this feed. If you enjoy our channel, please give us a 5-star rating in your favorite podcast app. Connect with us on social media by following TRN Social, and visit the retronetwork.com website for your daily retro fix. Come back next week for another episode of the Retro Network Podcast.